Host of All the Smoke podcast, Matt Barnes. By the way, also 2008 NBA champ Kendrick Perkins is with us. Let's start with some big news out of the East, my friends, because Nets coach Steve Nash said, it's happening! Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, all expected to play tomorrow against the Bulls. Will be just the 8th time they played together all season, and one of those 8 games didn't really count because Kevin got pulled in the middle of it. They all came before the All-Star break. So, Matt, how important is it for our Threes Company crew to get these reps in together before the playoffs?
I think it's important, but those three are so talented, I think they'll figure it out. This is more important for the role players. I played with stars before and superstars, and even playing on that Golden State team. As a role player, you want to kind of find your spot so you're not stepping on the stars' toes. Right. And on this team, there's 3 superstars. So like I said, I think the stars will figure it out, but I think it's more important for the role players to kind of figure out and pick and choose their spots to see what they'll be most effective when they're at full power.
Yeah.
I agree, man. But you know what? It's more important for Steve Nash and his coaching staff to be able to mix things up and shuffle and play with lineups to see who played well together. Can I play this guy with James and KD? How am I going to substitute? Will I take KD out at the 6-minute mark or take Kyrie out? Like, I think this gives Steve Nash a chance to see exactly what he got, to see exactly who he want to roll with going into the postseason when the rotation's shortened up, to see if he's going to roll with a DeAndre Jordan. So I think it's very important for them to play. That is very important that these 3 guys are playing on Saturday against the Bulls.
But I think it, Perk, to your point, I think it's less important for them as the stars to play together, but more for the coaching staff to know what they have and more for the role players to be able to pick and choose their spots. Like I said, this is kind of like playing on the Olympic team or an all-star team with those 3 guys. Those guys they're so smart, they'll figure out their chemistry. So as you put, for the coaching staff, it's going to be big, and for the role players, it's going to be big as well.
And look, James and Kevin, they've played together plenty. James and Kyrie got a chance to really play together a bunch when Kevin was out, right, with the long hamstring injury. So I don't worry about them like you, Matt, don't worry about them. And frankly, I worry a little less about the role players too, only because of Harden's skill set. He will find you, right? So you have to worry a little bit less about being in the right place because he will find the ball. The ball will come to you. But yes, I think it is all of them learning how to play around this threesome. And, you know, we just showed you the bracket. If it doesn't work out the rest of that game over the weekend, they've got the first round because unlike the bottom of the West, the bottom of the East, while teams that, frankly, I think have had great, stretches in this post-All-Star break, I just think the Nets are going to be heavily favored in their first-round matchup, so they will have a chance to play their way in there as well. Let's take a look at today's magic moment brought to you by Walt Disney World Resort. This is especially if you're a Suns fan. Devin Booker fouled, made 2 free throws with 2.4 seconds left to put his team up by a point. Blazers coach Terry Stotts challenged the ruling, but it was upheld, and that meant he didn't have the timeout later. Loss for Portland keeps them eligible for the play-in tournament. The race for the 5 seed in the West, intense. Here are the options. The Mavericks get the 5 seed if they win out, or if they win once and Portland loses. Or a win and 2 Lakers wins. Blazers get the 5 seed, win at their final game. Dallas either loses out or 1 win and Lakers lose 1. The Lakers could get the 5 seed if they win out and Dallas and Portland lose out. So, Perk, given all of those permutations, go inside your crystal ball. Who of these 3 teams gets the 5 seed?
Well, I think it's a no-brainer. I think the Dallas Mavericks are going to get it. I mean, obviously Toronto and Minnesota, they're thinking about Cancun, thinking about Cabo. So it's going to be easy wins for them. And right now, they're finally healthy. Porzingis is back. We all know what Luka is capable of doing. And then the Dallas Mavericks, I mean, they have some good pieces coming in off the bench with Kleber and Bronson. So I'm looking at where they at right now. They're in great position. I think they're going to lock in that 5 seed.
Someone you didn't mention, Perk, who I've really liked and been playing well is Tim Hardaway Jr. Big shot, scoring a lot of points. But I agree, but the one catch game I think that Dallas might get caught slipping with is that Minnesota team, because the Minnesota team's been out of the playoff race for a long time, and they're a young team. So young teams don't know better, especially Anthony Edwards. He's going to have his foot on the gas the whole time. So that's going to be the catch game. I think Toronto's kind of already checked out. It's been a long, tough season for them, being displaced from home. So you got to watch that last game for Dallas. But I agree with you. I think the Dallas Mavericks will get the 5th seed.
It's so interesting with Minnesota, too, because, frankly, it would be better for them to lose because they want to keep their pick. It's top 3 protected. But as you point out, they've had so much trouble all season. it kind of feels like to me that, especially with a new coach and guys who are finally healthy, that team has wanted to win because it has been more important for them to just kind of get their act together and get the chemistry together and be able to come into next season really rolling. So I don't know, frankly, if they're going to show up for this last game wanting to win or not. And I know we're not supposed to talk about that in the NBA, but we talk about it because it's a reality of life. All right, it's time for Make or Miss, friends. This show is so packed. We got to put Make or Miss in our first block. Make repertoire. Speaking of the Timberwolves, Karl Anthony Towns continuing to show off some really improved passing. That dart to Vanderbilt for the slam. Perk, have you noticed Cat's cat vision lately?
I have. And you know what? KG told me a long time ago. He said, man, this guy is so skilled. People don't know his passing ability. And he's been dropping dimes. It's been flying under the radar, but he's dropped dimes.
I really like Cat. I think he doesn't get enough credit because he played in Minnesota on a team that's been bad pretty much his whole career. But this is one of the most skilled bigs in the game. Can step out, can put the ball on the floor as you see, can pass, can post up. He doesn't really have a hole in his game, but I don't think he gets enough recognition because he's played in a bad situation.
It's so interesting. We've been talking so much about Tim Duncan and Kevin Garnett because of the Hall of Fame this weekend. Perk, do you think if KG, who played in Minnesota all those years, ended up playing in Tim Duncan's spot, different? We'll talk about that later. All right. Matt just said, producer Steve's yelling at me, but as he should be, but Matt just said being lost in Minnesota made me think of Kevin Garnett. Udonis Haslem making his season debut last night, entered to a standing ovation, and then promptly got into it with Dwight Howard. Got tossed in less than 3 minutes. Dwight, by the way, suspended 1 game because this was his 16th technical of the season. So I just get the feeling, Matt, Perk, that you guys would have had a similar reaction the way Udonis Haslem had if you had checked into the game for the same reasons that UD did.
Hey, this tickled me. Hey, like 3 or 4 of my friends hit me up when this happened. Like, yo, check this out. Look what UD just did. He had just got in, hit 2 shots, and then he gets ejected. But you got to think, this is a lot of UD is a competitor, and I think he's played a great role on being a mentor in that team, almost a second coach. But he finally got a chance to play, so emotions were running high. But then again, at 40, you get a little bit older. It doesn't take much to fall over anymore. So I didn't really think Dwight did too much to him, to be honest. But I loved UD's reaction. Unfortunately, Dwight cost Dwight a game. But I loved UD's reaction. It really tickled my soul.
And look, I look at it both ways, right? He got in because it could possibly be his last home game. But what happened with Joel Embiid and Trevor Ariza beforehand, I thought, because I was in that situation where Ty Lue sent me in the game to, go in there, and deliver a message as an enforcer. So, UD was being UD, and I thought it was just set up perfectly. I actually love it. I like the fights in this. I like the back and forth. I like to see,
especially this time of the year.
Yeah, this is what you want to see. Yeah. Forget all that swapping jerseys and all that. This is what we want to see.
And look, we don't know what's going to happen in the postseason, whether they'll need him for spot duty or not. And of course, he hasn't said for sure what's going to happen this offseason. But if that was the last time that Udonis Haslem was in a game for the Miami Heat, it is chef's kiss on the end of his career, and what a career it has been. All right, guys, you heard me mention the Hall of Fame coming up. Kobe Bryant, Kevin Garnett entering the Hall of Fame this weekend. We will reflect on their careers with some former teammates next.
It's a great compliment. I just have to continue to be the best basketball player that I can possibly be.
What Kobe Bryant was to me was the inspiration that someone truly cared about the way I played the game or the way that he wanted to play the game.
He wanted to know how, when I turn around on my jump shot, how to feel the defense. I told him you should feel the defense with your legs.
This kid had passion like you would never know.
I just accept challenges. I wanted to go out there, I wanted to guard Mike. That's the best thing about the game of basketball, that you answer new challenges day in and day out.
Kobe has a chance to be what Michael is in this league. You're looking at the present and the future right there.
Kobe Bryant, sensational for the win. Bang! Wow!
Everyone always wanted to talk about the comparisons between he and I just wanted to talk about Kobe.
A little advice from the master.
The truth of the matter is, he's helped me out a great deal. I reached out to him, he'd hit me right back. He'd give me advice straight from his heart.
I wanted to be the best big brother that I could be.
That speech at Kobe's memorial service, just iconic. The Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame This class will go down as one of the most special in the long history of the Hoop Hall. The late Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, Tamika Catchings, Coach Rudy Tomjanovich headline that class. They will be enshrined over the weekend in Springfield, Massachusetts. And Matt, I don't even know where to start because this history with Kobe is so deep and so rich and touched both of us so personally. What do you think it would have meant to Kobe to be able to follow this through and be up there this weekend with those guys?
I think it was the final step. You know what I mean? He always spoke to sitting at the table with MJ. I need 6 rings. I need 6 rings. He was never able to get that, but he was able to grab himself an Oscar and then a couple other things outside of basketball. But I kind of think this was kind of the final stamp on one of the greatest careers we've ever seen. You know, someone who literally rode the ship until the ship sunk, you know, in a time where he started where, you know, stars were supposed to stay, but by the time his career ended, stars were jumping around, and Kobe could have definitely jumped that ship because it was sinking fast and possibly got that 6th ring, but he wanted to stay loyal to the Lakers, to Jeannie, and to this fan base, and he did that. So, I mean, just looking at this and hearing him talk, it just still obviously doesn't seem real. And I know the one thing we were all looking forward to during this moment was him speaking at the ceremony, because, you know, it would have been strategic, you know, it would have been creative, witty. He would have talked a little bit of trash, but, you know, just a tough situation to swallow overall.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. And I mean, one of the greatest competitors of all time, having those battles with Kobe, you know, when I was with the Celtics and just going against them and just having those different moments where he was talking noise. But, you know, Kobe has an interesting story, right? He went from being loved to hated to being loved again to, like, you know, and he was Mr. Adversity, right? When adversity struck, he embraced it with open arms. And I'm just, you know, like, him getting inducted to the Hall of Fame is a beautiful thing, but I'm just like so amazed at how the Mamba mentality is in Vanessa Bryant, right? Like she lost her better half in a way that she continues to carry on Kobe legacy, like being able to go speak at the Hall of Fame, how strong she is, like on social media and with her daughters and things of that nature. It's all just, you know, it's sad and it makes you sad, but at the same time, it's like, wow, this woman is real powerful and real strong.
There's no question. I mean, losing a child and losing your lifetime partner, I don't think anyone would blame her if we never saw her publicly speak again. And instead, she has been so strong on behalf of those other little girls and protecting Kobe's legacy. It's funny, you talk about his evolution, loved, hated, loved. One of the things that I loved the most about Kobe was that he was never finished. He knew that nobody else was ever finished. He absolutely did things in his life that he wished he could take back or do differently, and he kept going, and he kept changing, and he kept trying to improve. And I think that was such a lesson, honestly, a life lesson to me as I watched him go through and do all of these things, especially after he retired. And we saw those clips of Michael speaking at his memorial service. One of the things that just broke me down when Michael was talking that day was about how he didn't intend to have this relationship with Kobe Bryant.
He was annoying.
Kobe just kept pestering him. And then finally he gave in and started answering the phone calls. And I mean, Matt, that's the guy we know, right?
Absolutely. I mean, and we talked about his roller coaster, but I mean, it really goes to show how mentally tough this guy was, because his play never wavered, and we all know he went through a lot of stuff and never wavered. So obviously we love and miss Kobe, and, you know, to have Mike and Vanessa speaking, it's going to be a big day not only for Vanessa, but the rest of the Bryant family as well.
Just it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot, but we all owe it to him to fully celebrate him at this time that I absolutely know would have meant so much to him. And look, the guys up there along with him will be celebrating as well, and they deserve their moments in the sun, because my Lord, these resumes. NBA champ, 15-time All-Star Kevin Garnett. Our friends at Showtime shared a short excerpt from their upcoming doc that's entitled Kevin Garnett, Anything is Possible, which is just the absolute perfect title for that documentary. It premieres on Showtime July 30th. And in this clip, this is incredible. This is the moment Kevin Garnett asked fellow Chicago native Isaiah Thomas to present him this weekend at the Hoop Hall. Take a look at this.
I wanted to throw something on your plate before we get off here. You know, this is my first time going through any of this Hall of Fame stuff. And they asked me, you know, if I could choose someone to present me or bring me out or whatever. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, you know, someone from, you know, the fraternity that you obviously value and respect, then it's only right that I ask or pay homage to someone who I felt like helped me get to a point to where I can make a strong decision on my future when I was so young and so just, I wouldn't say naive, but I was full of dreams and hopes. And I like to think that you helped me come to that. So if you would consider, possibly introducing me and bringing me out or whatever the process is, it'll be an honor. But I would love it if you would consider that on me, on some West Side.
Nah, yeah, that yes, twice across the heart, baby.
You already know, baby.
Absolutely.
You already know.
Yes, just again, where you came from, who you were then, and what you've grown up to be. You have fulfilled all of our dreams. Right. Everything again that we hoped that you could be. I would be honored to stand on the stage next to you and let the basketball world and the community just see Kevin Garnett.
That's what's up. Zeke, I appreciate that, man.
Just so cool. And I love that they got Isaiah there by saying, we want to ask you questions about the documentary, which they totally did, and asked him about his life story involved with Kevin, of course, both being from Chicago, but then they hit him with a phone call at the end. Pretty incredible. Perk, you and KG have remained very close friends. What does it mean to see your big brother get inducted into the Hall, especially seeing that clip and just seeing how much that lineage means to him, from Zeke to him and onward?
Well, one thing, Rachel, is that KG means the world to me. I mean, when I talk about a big homie, a big brother, he's at the top. He's number one on my list for as my everyday, my ride or die. And when you think about KG, people see him on the court as this fierce competitor, this noise talker, but outside of basketball, he is one of the best individuals, most loyal individuals to be around that I've ever been around in my life. And it's just, it motivates me to even do better in life, knowing what he did on the court to prepare every single day to go out there and compete. Because a lot of people don't know the hard work that KG put in. It's only one thing that he didn't accomplish in his career, and that was getting the Finals MVP. Everything else, he has all the accolades. To me, he's one of the most, if not the most skilled power forward to ever play the game. I think Anthony Davis is on his heels, but as of right now, he's cemented. And I'm just happy for my brother KG. Is well-deserving, great person, great basketball player, and I'd do anything in the world for him. I'm just happy that he's getting his just due.
Absolutely. And KG is also one of the most selfless superstars. When you hear other coaches and players talk about him, he was the one that did a lot of the sacrificing, on that Boston team. So selfless superstar. I got a chance to obviously compete against him, but really know him after basketball. And that's what I really appreciate, is getting a chance to know people. Obviously having him on our show for All-Star in Chicago, his energy, the way he told stories, incredible. He has a new show coming out where he came and redecorated my kid's game room and hung out with the twins. So just a great, like Perk said, great, loyal human being. Outside of all the energy he was as a competitor, he still has that energy off the court, but now it's just filled with love and advice and game and wisdom. So tremendous honor. I mean, watching that little doc piece with Isaiah, I mean, it's kind of a teary day. I mean, obviously the Kobe situation and stuff, but it's just beautiful to see life. You know what I mean? We got to celebrate life. And obviously hats off to everyone going into this Hall of Fame class. Tim, we get to see him. We'll talk a little bit later, but, rest in peace to Kobe. Congratulations to KG, Tamika, Rudy Tom, and everyone else. This is just a beautiful time, man, because I think if anything, this pandemic has shown us that tomorrow is not promised. So it's important to, celebrate each other while we can.
Amen. And on that note, we are far from done with our Class of 2020 Hall of Fame preview. As Matt just mentioned, Tim Duncan coming up on the show next as he prepares to take his rightful place in Springfield. This interview is more than 2 decades in the making.
Above all else,
Remember the Alamo. The San Antonio Spurs are NBA World Champions.
he was the ultimate example of all-time greatness wrapped, and some might even say hidden, by humility.
We take his greatness for granted because he does it on such a consistent basis.
But to all true fans of the game, everything about him shouts Hall of Fame. 2-time league MVP, 15-time All-Star, 3-time Finals MVP, 5-time champion.
San Antonio is back on top once again.
And all of it accomplished with such dignity, such class, without fanfare or flash.
Duncan, a three-pointer, puts it up, it's good! Tim Duncan!
A leader by example, a selfless teammate, a gentleman, and we may never see his like again.
And now joining us, the 5-time NBA champ, 3-time Finals MVP, 15-time All-Star, 2-time regular season MVP, and now you can add Hall of Famer to those accomplishments. To call that an elite resume is an understatement. Tim Duncan, welcome to The Jump. We're so happy to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Love it. I mean, congrats on the induction. What does it mean to you?
It's the culmination of a lot of years and a lot of hard work, a lot of wonderful people, and just an amazing journey. And it's great to be here.
It's crazy. You have these this is your life moments, all these people from your past gathering this weekend, and you're being presented by your former teammate, fellow Hall of Famer, David Robinson. What did you tell him he could or couldn't put in his speech, and what were the biggest lessons you picked up from him early in your career?
Biggest lesson? I don't know if there's even a biggest lesson. I was just honored to kind of be around him. People always ask me about what did he teach you? What stories did he tell you? And I was like, David isn't one that would do that with me. He just being around him, seeing how he was as a pro, as a father. Those were most of my lessons came from him.
Anything for the speech you want him to stay away from or put in there? Are you giving him any guidance or just letting him go?
No, David wings it. You know he does. He's such a great speaker, and I don't even know what he will or say. But no parameters on anything he wants to say. He'll be great. His speech will probably be better than mine. So.
Oh well, I don't know. But if he does review all your game day fashion choices in the speech, I'm not going to be upset. I'm just going to say that. You did play for Greg Popovich for your entire career. Most players and coaches don't get that much time together. How did your relationship with Pop contribute to your success and evolve over your time together?
Tremendously. To be with someone that long and to have that honor, I think we both evolved together. We were learning on the fly. He obviously a lot more years in coaching, but as he adjusted to the different teams we had, the way basketball was played differently over the years, me getting older, our teams getting older, the changing the guard early on from David and the Averys and the Vinnie Johnsons, to the Manu and Tony and Tim era, and he was always evolving, always changing, always trying to find a way to keep us ahead of the game, and just an honor to be on that ride with him.
One of our producers asked, do you think that Pop texts Tim Duncan? Well, what is that like? What are Pop's texts like, Tim? We need to know.
Pop texts me all the time. He's in the last couple of years, he's actually gotten on board with it. Before that, he didn't want to have a phone. He didn't want people being in touch with him and everything. But yeah, he'll reach out every once in a while. He'll text me. I'll just check in on him every once in a while, and he'll respond in pretty short form.
I assume that he would just send back little wine glass emojis, so I don't know if he's there yet on the emoji train, but I'm glad to hear that he texts. You guys had so many special times together. You won titles in 1999, 2003, 2005, 2007, 2014. Doing that over so many different eras and waves of play in the game, is there one particular season, one particular title run that stands out as the most memorable to you?
Yeah, I've been asked it a couple times, and each one of them was so special in kind of a different way. The first one, such a shot, because it just kind of, it's so early on in my career,
right.
and yeah, I'm kind of looking around like not knowing what's going on and just kind of playing off pure instinct. To 14, where we're basically being counted out, and we have a bad beat the year before. In losing to the Heat, and we fight our way back and we put ourselves back together and we get back to the championship again and win that one. So in every respect and every time, there's special moments in there, and every one means a little different, but a whole lot.
Well, we talked back at that 2007 finals. You had a memorable exchange with LeBron James. I want to play it for everyone now. Take a listen.
Great job, man. Hey, man, I love how you're on 15 this minute. Stay that way, man. Stay that way. You're going to drive these guys. This is going to be your league in a little while. But I appreciate you giving us this year.
That was, of course, after the final game. You said, this is going to be your league, but I appreciate you giving us a year. What was that moment like?
You could just tell what he was going to be and who he was going to be, and that he was going to be such a dominant player for such a long time. And it was great playing him so early and again late in my career. And just watching his trajectory of his career, you could just see it coming. But playing against a young LeBron and an older LeBron.
Yeah.
Two different players, two totally different players, and it was fun to watch and be a part of.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting, and only the guys who played against him, both at the beginning and now toward the latter part of his career, can qualify it. We haven't seen a player like Michael Jordan or Kareem or someone of that level change his game as much as it seems like LeBron has changed his. Would you say that's right?
Absolutely, and evolving, changing with the game. Being in amazing shape the entire time. Like he continues to work in his body, stay healthy. Obviously, he's had some problems of late, but to stay on the top of the league for this long and to perform the way he has is absolutely amazing.
Well, he is a big social media guy. You, on the other hand, Tim, not so much. Everyone here at The Jump would like to be following you on social. You are not on any of the major platforms, at least not as yourself. Do you have a secret account? Is this like when we discovered Adam Silver had like a secret Twitter account? Is there a Tim Duncan burner out there? Anything?
I don't have a Twitter account. I don't do social media. I'm gonna stay off of that platform for my own sanity.
I can't say that you're making a mistake. I really can't. All right, we couldn't have the big fundamental on the show without playing a round of one of our favorite games here. At The Jump, we do something called What Were You Thinking? Tim Duncan, we are going to bring up some career highlights. You just tell us what was going through your mind at the time. So, what were you thinking, Tim, when you dropped 21, 20 rebounds, 10 assists, and 8 blocks in that finals clincher against the Nets in 2003? Because that was a performance.
What was I thinking? Luckily, I wasn't. It was just such a moment where just come that far, and it's just you're just trying to get it done and trying to get over the hump there, and it was such a fun night, and I ended the game, and Tom James, my PR guy, kind of shows me the stats, and I was like, "Oh wow! I didn't know. I didn't realize I was that close to a quad double." And so I was just kind of playing in the moment.
Well, I see you looking down at the iPad because we've got the highlights for you. So take a look now. What were you thinking, Tim Duncan, when your teammates Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili pranked you, set you up to sit on a cup on the bench in 2013? Here we go.
Oh, this is.
You kind of look like you knew what it was.
Yeah, well, we've been going back and forth with this all year long. So I had gotten him a couple times. He'd gotten me a couple times. Obviously, Tony in there as well. And so we became hyper aware of our surroundings and just always kind of being on tilt, being ready. And he caught me slipping.
There you go. All right. Look at the iPad again, because what were you thinking, Tim Duncan, when you had a funny reaction after that Gatorade on the bench in 2003? This has been a mystery I have wanted to solve now for 18 years. So please explain what is happening here. You look like the Gatorade
Why
wronged
did I drink
you.
it again?
I don't know. I swear to God, I have seen this clip 20 times, and I need to know what's in there. You're like, flavor
I obviously
issue?
didn't know then either. I didn't know what was in it then. I'm sure that there was some kind of supplementing it or something that either it wasn't mine or it was like they used to put the cramping medicine in there.
Electrolyte stuff in there.
So maybe that's probably not what I asked for at the time. I wasn't expecting it.
This is why you don't drink out of your friends' cups, ladies and gentlemen. All right, what were you thinking, Tim Duncan, when you got ejected for laughing on the bench in 2007?
Wow.
Yeah.
In shock for a very long time that went straight to very, very, very mad. I know there was a couple choice words flung his direction at the exit there, but in absolute shock until it kind of caught up to me.
I don't know if I've covered you for a long time. I don't know if I've ever seen you get mad. You got mad?
Yeah, I got mad at that one.
Did you guys talk about that over the years afterward? No.
We've never addressed it. I've never talked to him about it. No.
Wow. All right, we will not throw you off the show for laughing. Thank you so much, Tim, for joining us. It is just a pleasure to not only talk to you, but to do it today, this weekend. And of course, with Kobe Bryant also being inducted with you guys. Have you guys had any conversations, you and KG and all the guys, about just what it means to, unfortunately, not have him there?
I haven't seen any of the guys as of yet. I'm assume that I'll be around them more in the next 24 hours or so. We haven't discussed it at all. Obviously, I've lived through it when it happened, and being with the team and discussing it with Pop and a lot of the guys who really knew him. So it's a crazy feeling not having him here.
Absolutely, but an honor, and you guys are going to certainly do him right this weekend. Tim, thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Coming up, Giannis dropping a 40-piece last night. What's your outlook on him as we approach the playoffs? Stick around, and more special guests on the way too. Hall of Fame Day! I love how coverage begins at 8:30 with NBA Countdown. Let's get to Giannis and the Bucks. They'll be at least the 3 seed when the first round begins on May 22nd. He dropped 40 in a win last night. Perk, how can Giannis and the Bucks get over their playoff plateau?
Well, I mean, if Giannis keep playing the way he's playing with the ultimate confidence, Rachel, they put up 100 and I believe 50 or close to 150 points last night. This is why I was telling you and Matt that the Brooklyn Nets better make sure that their chemistry is together, because the Milwaukee Bucks are not playing any games right now, and so is Giannis. Yeah. His confidence is at another level.
I agree. I think this is going to be the most prepared Giannis we've seen going into the playoffs. Understanding he's learned. It hasn't been, there have been losses, but they've been more of lessons for him. Yep. So he's been flying under the radar. I think that's kind of, they had the spotlight a lot. Maybe it been too much. They've been flying under the radar. He's playing great. But another thing, obviously, they have Drew Holiday to really be able to lean on now. So he has real 2 sidekicks he knows he can count on. So they're my dark horse coming out of the East. Like you said, Perk, if people aren't on their game, playing them, don't be surprised if they come out of the East.
Yeah, it's interesting. They've experimented so much with their defense this year. Obviously, PJ Tucker, Drew Holiday there makes it a lot different. But Giannis has switched, which we never saw before, right? We've seen the baby steps of some of that. And of course, trying to be less predictable offensively. Look, it is going to be a battle. I will say this about the top of the East. It is so important for the Sixers to lock up that number 1 seed, because whoever is the 2 or the 3 will have to play each other and then the 1 seed. So if you're Brooklyn, Milwaukee, or the Sixers, you only want to maybe face one of the others in that 3-pack, but whoever the 2 and the 3 seed will have to face probably both of them if things go chalk. We'll have to see. They didn't last year when the Heat upset the Bucks early. All right, guys, we'll be right back with a very special guest. Shout out to Mika Catchings!
So